Stepping over stepping stones. Never mind. I attempted to repeat these words countless times in speech therapy classes that I took in early elementary school, an experience that would shape my life for years to come. See, I started elementary school with an acute speech impediment which caused me to mispronounce my R's and S's and stutter tremendously. Aside from my teachers and parents pointing it out at the time, my peers took special note of my difficulty, making me the butt of countless jokes. One time I was compared to Porky Pig from Looney Tunes, which even I couldn't help but laugh at. But also, I was shunned from lunch tables and games at recess, seemingly unimportant to the everyday person, but of focal points of my first grade life. I felt like this agony ruled over my life, that my impediments would define me. I began to lose confidence, keeping to myself at school and hiding behind my locked bedroom door at home. Soon after, my parents enrolled me in speech therapy classes where we worked on different exercises like tongue twisters such as She Sold Seashells by the Seashore and stepping over stepping stones. We also worked on different tongue exercises like forming a bowl, among other shapes, leading me to push myself out of my comfort zone through these challenging instructions. But I frequently messed up during these exercises, constantly mispronouncing simple phrases, and my frustration continued to grow by the second. I kept thinking, you're better than this. After all, I was the beloved son of a renowned surgeon and a Brown graduate that worked alongside Congress, the grandson of a World War II vet and a civil engineer that maximized the American dream. I was in a family where success was an expectation, but I didn't feel like I belonged. How could I, the child of such successful people, be troubled with something as stupid as a speech impediment? How could I fit into any community with my handicap? While my struggles with speaking diminished over a few months and I stopped attending therapy, the psychological impact of my experience lingered for years after. Having the feeling of desperation and embarrassment made me feel like I shouldn't share my opinion, just that my voice just didn't matter. Soon after, I became immersed in Greek mythology after reading the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series by Rick Riordan. Any fans not? Yeah? All right. So I became interested in learning about different Greek gods and nymphs, and specifically I remember an intriguing story about a nymph named Echo who offended Hera, the goddess of women and family. In order to punish Echo, Hera deprived her of her speech and made it so she could only repeat the last words of another person. While Echo and I were both silenced, I wasn't subject to a curse. I was a servant to my own insecurity, plagued with shallow and unmeaningful relationships throughout most of my elementary and middle school days. After a while, I became fed up with this loneliness and decided to venture out into the world to gain new friends and new memories. Within the past years, I've learned to overcome my lack of confidence by simply talking to more people and getting comfortable with those people. It sounds simple, but trust me, it was a key part of my process in gaining confidence. Once I had a few genuine friendships, I was adopted into different friend groups, leading me to where I am today. Now I have a great number of close friends. I'm a part of several different clubs in my school, and I'm standing on this very stage in front of you. All of these experiences have helped me find my personal identity and gain comfort in my own skin. In fact, some of my closest friends were the people sitting at those same elementary school tables that I felt disconnected from just a few years ago. By making an active effort to get closer to the people around me, I became more comfortable and started to ease my social anxiety. But in all of my pursuits, I'm not alone. Countless people had similar experiences. Samuel L. Jackson, Winston Churchill, Bruce Willis, and even Kendrick Lamar faced speech impediments in their lives but overcame them to shape their individual identities. The accomplishments of these people motivated me to keep persisting, and honestly, they still do to this day. Having a speech impediment didn't mean that I couldn't be successful or that the struggles I went through were stupid. In the words of a very famous and well-known philosopher and street poet commonly referred to as Kendrick Lamar, eventually you get to this point where you understand what you want to do and get across and sound like. For me, this experience has contributed to a core piece of who I am, shaping my perspective on how I interact with others and interpret conversations. Also, this experience has contributed to allowed me to gain a sense of empathy for people who are facing their personal difficulties, a tool that allows me to respond to interactions in a unique way. I always attempt to approach them with consideration, the way I wish people had treated me just years ago. If I had the chance to go back and have a conversation with my younger self, I'd consider the limitless possibilities of ideas and thoughts that I might propose. Should I tell him all of my regrets in a stubborn attempt to override them? Should I tell him the individual steps of how I overcame my lack of confidence in an attempt to short-circuit the process? No. Perhaps I should tell young Arjun a different story. Dear younger me, this speech impediment is just a piece of us that you will live with and soon embrace. I'd tell you more, but taking this the hard way was one of the most influential parts of our story. This is merely an important chapter in a lifelong journey that will stay with you, whether you like it or not. I give him a pat on the back and leave him the same person he was prior to that conversation. If I told him what I know now, who knows if my story would be different or if I wouldn't be who I am today. Overcoming that frustration and embarrassment was one of the most influential experiences of my life. But I know now the monumental impact of it will stay with me for my future and help define my personal character. While I'm not extroverted by any means now, speaking on the stage has given me the platform to give my story. Truly feel like I've overcome my struggles and gained pride in having a voice. In a sense, my insecurities over my speech impediment were the stepping stones that I needed to step over so I could become the person that I am today. Stepping over stepping stones. Stepping over stepping stones, it feels great to say.